Hi everyone, how are you? Thank you for tuning in. My name is Susan Mutana and my YouTube channel is Susan the Trainer KE. Welcome once again. And if you haven't subscribed, please do share, like, drop a comment. So today, as promised from the previous podcast, we are going to talk about how to get out of debt because you find like it's so easy to get into debt. Debt it's so enticing, but getting out of it needs you to be intentional. I'll always repeat that you just need to be intentional with issues of finances. So today I want to address the issue of you are in a cycle of debt or you're just overwhelmed and you're asking like Susan, I want to make things right. How do I get out of debt? So number one, I'll say list down who and how much you owe. You just need to take your pen and write the same way at the point of the loan applications or using your mobile app. You just filled in that information and made a request. So do a listing of all the debts that you have. Do not undermine, even if maybe you have a debt, you owe a friend, for example. He is a BFF or she is a girlfriend, but just make sure that you write. If it's maybe the food vendor, or maybe it's Mama Boga, maybe it's a kiosk, just list all your debts. Whether it's a family debt, maybe it's a relative who gave you cash, or maybe it's a formal debt, for example, from an institution, or it's from a Shylock. The number one approach is list all your debts. So you need to come to terms and agree that this is the much that I'm owed. And then in that case, I want you to look from your income. You know how much you are earning at the moment. And you know your basic needs. In this case, maybe your rent, your utilities, transport to and from work, and maybe food and maybe school fees, just the most necessary or the most important. So in that case, you know that this is the much that I have to pay off my debts. Some debts are just auto deducted from the bank once the salary gets in, and you find it so easy to start changing the salary points and doing the hide and seek work, which is not right. So I'll say begin by listing all your debts. And I'll say this: if you have some debts with some institution and you feel like the cash you have is not enough, you can go to the financial institutions, or if it's a mobile app, try to negotiate with them on the repayment schedule. Just tell them like, okay, I cannot manage to pay this, but this is the minimum amount of repayment I can commit to do, and stick to your word. One thing in terms of debt management, you just need to be intentional and just have that goal that I want to get out of debt. And I'll say at this point, once you decide to come out of debt, I'll discourage you from getting deeper into more debt, because debt is enticing. So I'm going to tell you about three approaches. Number one is a debt noble approach by Dave Ramsey, whereby he advises like you list all your debts from the smallest to the largest. And then in that case, you ignore all the interest rates. So once you have a listing, commit to pay minimal repayments to all the debts, but put your focus on the smallest debt. So for example, the smallest debt, maybe it's 5,000. You have others of 500, 150. So commit like, I'll do minimum repayments to all these, but any extra cash I get, I'll finish off the smallest one, so that you can end up like eliminating. It's more of an elimination method. You eliminate the smallest. And once you eliminate the smallest, you'll continue paying minimum repayments to all these. And then take the cash that you are using for the smallest debt repayment and add something to it, and then attack the next smallest debt. Are we together? So in that case, it's like elimination. You start eliminating the smallest one. Any additional cash you get, any savings you get, you just throw in to finish the smallest debt. And the cycles continue. And after a certain period, you'll find like you are actually progressing. Okay. The second approach, it's called the Avalanche approach. So this one is, we've said in Dave Ramsey's debt snowball approach, you ignore the interest. But in the Avalanche approach, in this case, you are targeting the highest debt or the highest interest, the debt with the highest interest. So you are like, let me focus on the highest interest debt, or the highest debt, the big one. And then maybe I'll just be doing minimal repayments on all these other debts. So it's like you eat the big frog first. You finish the most, you finish the bigger one first, and then you continue with the small one. But at the same time, you just keep on doing minimum repayments on all these. So you need to identify and know what is the cost of finance, what is the interest rates to these debts. Okay, the third one, I'll say this is my own theory. So the two, they are researched well and all that, but this is mine as Susan. I've stayed in Kenya, and I'll say you find at times you can receive a call from a mobile lender telling you that, Susan, somebody, maybe a friend of yours, took a mobile loan app, and they'll call you because you are in their phone book, because they collect that background information. So in that case, you have maybe all the people in your phone book, maybe the people you frequently call, maybe your friends, your boss, your pastor is being called to remind you to pay off the debt. So you find in this case, it's so embarrassing, it's so straining. I'll say my approach is, out of the listing of your debts, if there is one or two debts that are really affecting your mental stress, like you find the approach they use, the debt collectors, is frustrating. Just imagine your employer being called to remind you to pay off a debt, or maybe you have guarantors who are following you left, right, and center. I'll say, look at the most stressing debt in terms of your mental health. You find like you have guarantors calling you, you have colleagues calling you, and I'll say I've learned not to judge. At times we get into debt, or we are stuck in debt because of our own ignorance. At times it's factors beyond us. For example, maybe you lost a job when you least expected, and you have debts. You were not prepared. Or maybe you had somebody who was sick, the medical cover was not enough, you had to get into debt. So you find, I won't judge. So at times we are in these situations because of our ignorance. At times it's because of other factors. So I'll say, if there is a debt and it is stressing so much, try as much as possible to pay it off, or try to renegotiate on the terms of payment. And there's somebody who asked in the last recording about is it right to just go into debt for the sake of improving your credit score. I'll say, why are you improving the credit score? A higher credit score means like you are more likely to go into debt. And in this case, I told you like the factors to consider before you get into debt. So you just need to have financial planning before you think of improving your credit score. Yeah, it's good to have a good credit score, I agree. But at times you find, I'll say, don't just get into debt because you want a high credit score. I just want to have my limit with maybe Tala to be 30,000. So let me keep on borrowing. Remember, at the point of repayment, there are interest involved. So you are losing. So I'll say, if you have a project, sit and do financial planning for it, as opposed to just getting into debt for you to have high credit limits, or maybe high Fuliza limits and all that. I hope this will help you out. And I'll say, try to write who you owe, how much you owe them, be it formal or informal, and make a commitment. This journey needs commitment. So see you next time. Please share, drop a comment. And if maybe you are struggling, I'll say, begin with changing your mindset. Everything is possible. Everything is doable. The way you'll sit down and do yearly goals, do a goal of, I want to get out of debt, or I want to break my debt cycle. So I wish you all the best. We'll talk about savings and investment in our next discussion. Thank you so much. Bye. This is Susan Tanner. My YouTube channel is Susan the Trainer. Bye.